It's your girl, Ashley Richardson, your countess, back with another episode of Let's Count. No need to ask the questions what we're counting and why we're counting it, because today we are counting the calories of a maple pound cake with a caramel glaze. Watch to the end to see how you can enjoy this decadent cake for only 340 calories a slice. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into the cake baking process.
Let's look at our ingredients for the cake. Here are the extracts here. I'm doing a 6 flavored pound cake, pure vanilla. This vanilla is not McCormick's, obviously. This came from Costco. It is a great vanilla, but I do have McCormick's butter, cake batter, and maple extracts. And then I have 2 oils that I'm also going to incorporate, an English toffee and a caramel oil, which is going to add a nice little twist. When you are baking your cakes, put the flavors in it that you want to taste. So this is not going to be a quote unquote traditional cake, but it's flavors that I want to taste. And then I have my cream bouquet here, and cream bouquet makes your cake taste more cakey. So the cream bouquet along with the cake batter extract is going to amp the flavor up a notch. Another YouTuber, Beautiful Two Creations, with Donna, she turned me on to the cream bouquet here, and it has been a game changer for my cakes. So shout out to her. And the cream bouquet and the oils are purchased here at our local cake store. Moving on to the ingredients here in this pan, I have my cream cheese, and we're going to use the entire block of cream cheese in the cake. If you want your cakes to be super, super moist, I'm telling you, cream cheese is the way to go. And then just flipping it around here so that you can see the calories. 1 ounce or 1 serving of cream cheese is 90 calories. I'm going to use the entire block of cream cheese, which is 8 servings, which gives us 270 calories. I have 3 sticks of salted butter, and they're 8 tablespoons in a stick of butter, and 100 calories per tablespoon. So we take that 100, multiply the 24 tablespoons. That gives us 2,400 calories. And then, of course, I have my 5 large eggs. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that eggs are my favorite food, and they are 70 calories per egg. And so 5 times 70 is 350. So there are my ingredients there. And then under this tent, notice how my food is always covered. In this tent, I have 3 cups of granulated sugar. Just so that you know, a serving of sugar is a teaspoon, and each teaspoon is equivalent to 15 calories. And so 3 cups of sugar is 144 teaspoons. So we're going to have to do the math on that a little bit later. 144 times 15. And then in this container here, I have 3 cups of Swan's Down cake flour. And in Swan's Down cake flour, we see that 1/4 of a cup is 100 calories. We're using 3 cups. And so that's going to be 12 servings of cake flour there, which gives us 1,200 calories. So this is just an overview of all of the ingredients that are going to be incorporated into the cake. In my cake flour, I have already whisked a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt. Yes, I'm using salted butter, and yes, I'm putting salt into the flour. I just like the flavor to be amped up. So once again, here are all of the ingredients and the calories. The great thing about the extracts and the flavorings, they are calorie free, so you can use as little or as much as you like without the guilt. All of my ingredients here are room temperature. The eggs, the butter, and the cream cheese are all room temperature. And just a quick note about the cream cheese. This cream cheese came from Costco. And like I said before, it is 90 calories per serving. But if you are using Philadelphia cream cheese, their cream cheese is 100 calories per serving. So if you are a stickler and always looking at those labels, like I've told you all to do, make sure that you are cognizant of the fact that Philadelphia cream cheese has 100 calories per serving, as opposed to other cream cheeses that might have 90 calories. I will be using my tube pan here because this will be a lot of batter. And I will spray my tube pan with a baking spray. I don't use Baker's Joy. For some reason, when I use Baker's Joy, it always sticks, but I'm just going to use a Food Line baking spray. Of course, if you don't want to use a baking spray, you can just do it traditional, which I've done before. You can butter and flour your pan, and it'll work just. So here is the cooking spray that I'm going to use, baking spray with flour. And before I put my batter in the pan, I'm going to spray it very well. The baking spray is also 0 calories. And so, of course, we're always looking at labels and looking at the baking spray, 0 calories for the baking spray. We're going to set our oven for 315 degrees. Most people bake at 350 or at least 325. I have found that with my oven, it cooks really, really fast. I guess it gets really, really hot. That with the dark tube pan, but we're going to set that for 315 degrees. We're going to bake it for about an hour and a half because I want it to be done on the inside. I do not want it to brown so quickly on the outside. So, just like your meats, I like to bake my cakes long and slow, but please make sure that you pay attention to your kitchen and your stove, your pans, because all appliances are not built the same. So I'm getting ready to add my extracts into the butter and the cream cheese. I like to incorporate my extracts in so that the flavors can go throughout. And I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of vanilla. In my opinion, you can never have too much vanilla in a cake. I'm going to put a teaspoon of cake batter extract. I am going to add 2 teaspoons of butter extract. Yes, butter extract and 3 sticks of butter. Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. And then one of my favorite extracts to use is maple extract. When I tell you it is amazing, it smells so good. I'm going to add, well, let's open it first. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of maple extract. And then I have my English toffee oil. I'm going to add a teaspoon of English toffee. And to be perfectly honest, there's not much left in that bottle. I'm just going to pour the rest of that bottle on in there because it's not enough left for another cake anyway. And I'm going to add in my caramel oil, and it looks like, yep, we'll be using the rest of this bottle as well. And then last but certainly not least, I'm going to add in my cream bouquet. You always want to shake it up well. Get everything mixed. I shook all the other extracts up off camera, but I'm going to use a full teaspoon of my cream bouquet. I'm going to allow the butter and the cream cheese to mix for a little bit before I start adding in the sugar. So it's mixed for a little while. I'm going to scrape down the side of the bowl a little bit. I would have normally added in my salt in here as well, and I just sifted it into the flour, but I generally add my extracts and my salt in at this point so that all the flavors come together and it just seems to distribute throughout the cake better. But you always want to make sure that you scrape down the sides of your bowl. And now we're going to start creaming the butter, the cream cheese, and the sugar. Just a pro tip, pro baking tip, you always want to make sure that you cream consistently. This is a very important part of baking your cake. If the sugar isn't completely creamed, if you can hear the sugar, you have not creamed long enough. So you want a nice whipped consistency, and you can see what it's looking like now, but I'll show you after I have mixed the sugar in for a little bit what it looks like. I generally mix in anywhere between 10 to 12 minutes. Sometimes it whips faster than others. This is a really good mixer. It's a Cuisinart, but you have to watch it. You'll know when that consistency is ready. You can see that it's still very yellow, but once you have mixed it, oops, well, you might want to put the whisk down first, baby girl. Once you have whisked it properly, you will definitely begin to see a difference in the texture and the color. So we're going to go ahead and start adding the sugar slowly. And once again, this is 3 cups of sugar that I'm adding in. Y'all know I don't skimp on the sugar, the fat, the butter, the flavor. And we're going to turn that up on high. It's 1:33, so I'm going to let that blend for about 10 minutes. So we're going to turn the mixer down. You can already see the difference in texture. It's been about 4 or 5 minutes later. I'm going to scrape down the side of the bowl. I can still hear a little bit of the sugar, and I'm still seeing some yellow spots. So we're going to go a few more minutes. So take a look at that batter. You can clearly see the color has changed. The consistency has changed. It is nice and whipped. There are no streaks of yellow. And now we are ready to add our eggs. We're going to incorporate our eggs now. Be sure to add your eggs in one at a time. I also crack my eggs off camera. Never crack your eggs over batter because you can get shells in there. And that's the worst thing in the world for someone to bite down into your cake and it's crunchy because of a shell. So we're going to add in our 1 egg here. There I go again. I don't know what is up with me in this whisk attachment. Girl, you got to put it in the batter first. And I have speeds, and I'm on speed 3. At this point in time, you do not want to overblend. You just want to make sure that the yellow disappears. And as soon as the yellow disappears from the yolk, go ahead and add in your next egg. And I'm going to add the rest of these off camera, scrape my bowl, and then we'll be prepared to add in our cake flour. I've added in all 5 of my eggs. I'm just going to do just a quick whisk there to make sure all the eggs are in there. And now let's add in our flour slowly. Turn that down so flour doesn't go everywhere. Again, this is 3 cups of Swan's Down cake flour. Make sure to add it in slowly so that your flour doesn't go everywhere. Again, at this point in time, you do not want to over mix. That can cause your cake to be dense. It can cause it to fall, and we definitely don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and continue adding the rest of my flour off camera, clean up this counter a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next component. Make sure that you get to the bottom of the pan. So just in case any of the flour has settled at the bottom, you're getting everything from the top, the sides, and the bottom. And it looks like we are good to go. I have already tasted my batter. It is delicious. I love cake batter. That is one of my favorite parts of baking the cake, is eating that cake batter. Don't judge. Okay, we're gonna spray our tube pan. Make sure you get the tube as well because you don't want anything to stick. Okay. The batter is ready to go into the pan. So you can tell that it's thoroughly sprayed and ready for batter. You can see this is a nice whipped consistency. It's thick. Be careful so that nothing goes down that tube. But if it does, you just clean it up. Sometimes we make a mess in the kitchen, just like that batter that just fell on the side of the pan. It's okay if you make a mess in the kitchen. This is why we have dish detergent and dishcloths, sanitizer, Clorox spray. If we make a mess, we clean it up. And for those of you who are in education and remember when No Child was left behind, when George Bush came out with that No Child Left Behind, there is no cake ladder left behind, period. It's all going on in the pan. Eggs, butter, cream cheese stuff is costing too much for us to be wasteful. So we're going to get it all out of the pan. And then what you all won't see me do, y'all see all that good batter. Now I'm going to take a knife and get that batter off of there. But some of this is going in my mouth. All right, all the batter is in the tube pan. Shake, shake, shake. Shake the devil off. In the name of Jesus, shake the devil off. Satan, I rebuke you. Shake the bubbles out. Satan, I rebuke you. Shake the bubbles out. Y'all, I'm just messing around. But you do want to shake it to make sure that it's even. I always hit it under the bottom to make sure to release those air bubbles and to get the rest of those air bubbles out. And now we're ready to go in the oven. All right, so I am getting a nice sink here of hot sudsy water so that we can get these dishes cleaned while the cake is baking. Everybody's favorite detergent, Dawn. It cleans oil off of animals. It gets the dirt off your car, and it certainly gets the crud off of your dishes. So while the cake is baking, get those dishes clean and get your kitchen prepped and ready to make your glaze. So I'm rinsing my dishes here, and I just had a funny thought. If you put your hands in your dishwater and you don't say at least one time, your dishwater is not hot enough. So I am preparing to make a homemade caramel sauce. I'm using evaporated milk. I usually use sweetened condensed milk, and I thought I had a can in the pantry, but I only had evaporated milk, which will still be okay. It's not going to be as sweet as the sweetened condensed milk would be, but we're going to add some brown sugar and butter and some vanilla extract and some other extracts to this anyway, so it's still going to turn out as good. And you might be asking yourself, why is my can so sudsy? Make sure you are cleaning your cans. I mean, rodents and bugs and warehouses and dust. Please make sure to clean your cans properly. Very, very important. So here are the ingredients for my homemade caramel. Like I said, evaporated milk. Let's look at the calories. We see that 2 tablespoons are equal to 40 calories. I'm going to use this whole can, and so that's 12 servings times 40 calories. And so there's that. And then I have light brown sugar. As I've told you all before, sugar per teaspoon is 15 calories. So of course, 2 teaspoons are going to be equal to 30 calories. I'm not quite sure how many teaspoons of brown sugar I'm going to add. Probably at least 6, because there are 3 teaspoons and a tablespoon. I don't know, just gonna try and fill it out there. I'm gonna add a large pinch of salt. I also have my maple extract and then my vanilla extract. So it's going to be a maple infused caramel sauce. I think it's going to be very decadent. I think it's going to be extremely tasty. Once again, this is just Food Lion brand light brown sugar, evaporated milk. My first choice would be sweetened condensed milk, but this is still going to turn out really good. Vanilla extract, maple extract, and then a large pinch of salt. And oh, I'm going to put butter in this as well. I'll probably melt down about 4 tablespoons of butter and add it to there. And remember, your butter is 100 calories per tablespoon. We're going to put all of this on the stove and create a nice caramel sauce that we're going to drizzle over our cake. It is an hour and a half later. The cake is out of the oven. You can see the marks in the cake from where I stuck my knife in it to make sure that it is done. It is separated from the pan, and I'm going to put my tent over it to let it cool for a little bit, and we're going to get started with our caramel glaze. So that's my first teaspoon of light brown sugar. 2, 3, let's do 4. I thought I was going to add 6, but I think I will be okay with 4. I have that on medium heat. You see the butter melting in. We will need to stir this frequently because it will melt, but that's what it's beginning to look like. And then I'll come back in a few minutes to show you what it looks like once the butter has melted and that milk has really cooked down and we're getting into the caramel. So we are pretty much ready to take this off the stove. I added in 3 additional tablespoons of brown sugar because the color just was not coloring for me. So that's the 3 teaspoons earlier, plus the 3 additional tablespoons. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 teaspoons of brown sugar, a pinch of salt, 2 tablespoons of salted butter, vanilla, and maple extract. And it's almost time to lay it on the cake. Yum. All right, so we're getting ready to put this caramel on the cake. I will probably have to get my brush out and brush some of it on here, but that's okay. And as you can see, I have it flipped so that the top is actually up. I know sometimes I just like to see the cake on this side. Most times I flip it so that the bottom is up. But I don't know, sometimes I just like to see the texture of the cake. So we're gonna finish putting this caramel on here. And then I will show you the finished product. All right, so this is the finished product. As you can see, I totally took a different twist on it, something that I didn't even tell you all about, but at the last minute decided to add some candied pecans. And let's look at the calories here. Pecans are very high in calories, but a fourth of a cup is 220 calories, and I put half a cup, which is 2/4. So that's 2 servings. But as you can see here, the caramel is on there, and it was enough caramel for me to be able to kind of glaze the entire cake. It goes all the way around. So I just wanted you to see the finished product here. It smells amazing. Now let's cut it and get into it. All right, so I'll probably cut my cake into 20ths or 24ths. I can already tell you all once we add up all the calories at the end and I tell you how many calories are in the cake total and per slice, it's going to be a lot. But of course, the smaller the slice, the less the calories. So let's go ahead and get into this cake here. Gosh, it is so freaking moist. Let's see. Look at that texture. Look at that crumb. You can already tell how moist it's going to be. I can't wait to get in it. So this is just what it looks like on the inside. Beautiful, beautiful crumb and texture. I know it's going to be absolutely delicious. So here is my cake slice standing up. I have my candied pecans on top. That's my homemade caramel. Pretty color, pretty texture. Here's another look at the cake itself. Beautiful on the inside. And it smells amazing. All right, so let's take a bite. We're gonna taste it together. Wow. You guys, it is so good. It is so moist. And let's get a piece here with the pecan and some of the caramel. And I'm going to tell you, the cake is moist without the caramel. So I would enjoy this cake all by itself without the caramel, without the candied pecans. But I'm going to tell you, this caramel is just going to be the literal icing on the cake. So good. So, so good.